10 Things You Didn't Know About Rolex. Over the past few years, numerous watch fans have taken great pleasure in deriding Rolex as little more than a status symbol, watch, or the go-to timepiece for those who have recently achieved success. On the other hand, things have started to go in a different direction. The Swiss company, which is privately held, has found itself back on the podium and among a fan base of people who appreciate high-end horlogery, where it rightfully belongs. Rolex may not have the same historical pedigree as Breguet or 𝗥𝗲𝗏𝗏. Still, the company has played an extremely important part in the watch industry over the last century. Rolex has been an important part of world culture for several reasons, including the fact that it was the first wristwatch to be awarded the Swiss Certificate of Chronometric Precision in 1910, Rolex's generous support of British troops during World War II, and the fact that it eventually became one of the most internationally recognized brands in the world. Let's get into the topic. 1. Rolex originated in London. Despite what many believe, London, not Geneva, may claim credit for being the birthplace of the premium brand. Wilsdorf and Davis were initially established in 1905 by Hans and Alfred Davis. After the First World War ended, the company's headquarters were relocated to Switzerland. Not only was it an excellent tax haven, but its economy also proved to be more enticing when contrasted to that of a post-war Britain still recovering. 2. There is no intended meaning behind the word Rolex. Wilsdorf is the one who came up with the term exquisite clockwork, despite the fact that many people in the watch industry believe that the name originated from the French phrase horlogerie exquise, which means exquisite clockwork, or an abbreviation of horological excellence. It is stated that the German watchmaker desired a brief term that would look beautiful on a watch face and could be uttered in any language. In addition to this, he believed that the name sounded like the sound that a watch produced while it was being wound. 3. Rolex watches raised the morale of British troops during World War II. Hans Wilsdorf, who was a firm believer that British soldiers fought bravely during World War II, offered all British prisoners of war the opportunity to order any Rolex of their choosing and make payments on it whenever they saw fit. He did this because he thought that British soldiers were honorable. This thoughtful act aimed to boost morale among the British troops, and it was successful. Only the 𝗔𝗲𝗏𝗏 prisoner of war camp in Bavaria received more than 3,000 timepieces. This was a rather surprising move coming from Hans, who was German by nationality yet was wagering against his own country. 4. Crossing the Channel, Rolex makes history in year 1. Rolex has always put its money where its mouth is by forming partnerships with individuals and organizations who are willing to take on new challenges. 1 year after the introduction of the Rolex Oyster, which was the world's first watch to be both water and dust resistant, Mercedes Gleitze swam the English Channel while wearing one of these watches on her wrist. It was not her first attempt at the crossing when she did it with Rolex. It took her 7 unsuccessful efforts until she finally succeeded at the beginning of October 1927. Following criticism from skeptics regarding her achievements, a vindication swim was scheduled for the following month. Hans Wilsdorf spotted the chance that presented itself. Although the Rolex Oyster on Gleitze's wrist remained dry and accurate during the expedition, she was unable to successfully cross the canal after spending more than 10 hours in the water. 5. A Rolex watch played a fundamental role in the Great Escape. While serving as a prisoner of war in a German camp, 𝗏𝗏𝗏 wore his Rolex Oyster 3525 with great pride as he counted down the days until his release from Stalag Luft 111 camp. During this time, he was a part of the Stalag Luft 111 camp escape plan. In point of fact, it is generally accepted that the watch was an essential component of the fabled Great Escape, which was later adapted into the groundbreaking film starring Steve McQueen and released in 1963. Wilsdorf did not give Nutting the opportunity to pay for his watch, and the two of them communicated through a number of letters while the soldier detailed his escape. 6. Rolex uses the most expensive stainless steel in the world, called 904L. Since 2003, Rolex has begun employing a more expensive and stronger quality of stainless steel known as 904L. This is in contrast to all of the other high-end watch companies, which all use a stainless steel grade known as 316L. Because it contains a larger percentage of nickel and is, therefore, far more challenging to machine than conventional steel, Rolex had to modernize the majority of its equipment through an expenditure that set the business back a significant amount of money. In exchange, Rolex watches offer superior resistance to pitting corrosion from saline seawater, which is wonderful news for Rolex enthusiasts who are divers. In addition, Rolex watches are far better at maintaining their polish than normal steel watches. 7. Each Rolex watch is pressure tested before it leaves the factory. The process of putting a watch through its paces in a pressure test is by no means an easy one. It entails a significant number of stages, each of which places an increasing amount of emphasis on beating the clock. After being submerged to a depth equivalent to 300 meters, approximately 1,000 feet, dive watches must pass a condensation test in order to get their certification as suitable for scuba diving. Condensation of any kind on the watch will result in its being discarded. In addition, the deep sea-rated watches produced by Rolex are put through a final test in which they are sealed in a container and subjected to the same amount of pressure that they would experience 12,000 meters below the surface of the ocean. 8. The Rolex Legacy, a history of exploration. Cross-promotional partnerships between brands and explorers are all the rage these days, but Rolex has been supporting explorers since the company's earliest days. In 1933, when the first aeroplane successfully flew over Mount Everest, passengers wore the company's timepieces on their wrists. In the year 1953, they made the first of many successful ascents of the mountain, and in the year 1960, they descended to the Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench, which is one of the deepest known sites on Earth. When it comes to providing assistance to explorers, expeditions, and people who are just trying to conquer exploits that were once thought to be impossible, Rolex was an industry pioneer. In recent years, the company has reignited its interest in land speed records, and as part of that effort, they have sponsored the Bloodhound SSC land speed record attempt to reach 1,000 miles per hour. Rolex was one of the first companies to get involved in the land speed racing industry. In the 1930s, the company sponsored Sir Malcolm Campbell, who would later become the first person to break the 300 miles per hour barrier, and held 9 world land speed records along the way. 9. The most expensive Rolex, a functional history of Milgauss. In the 1950s, the laboratories of the European Organization for Nuclear Research, CERN, were the sites of a different kind of adventure. These facilities were investigating the possibility of time travel. The researchers needed accurate timekeeping that was resistant to the strong magnets found in the laboratory. Rolex entered the market with its Milgauss model, which got its name from the fact that it could maintain precise timekeeping up to 1,000 Gauss of magnetism. Even while it retains the same name as its predecessor, recent testing conducted by third parties have shown that it is capable of managing significantly more. You never know when you might find yourself hurled against the largest magnet in the world or on a guided tour of the turbine room at a large-scale power plant. 10. Rolex headquarters outshines any high-level security prison. Wait until you hear about the security system in place at the production headquarters of Rolex before you decide whether or not the Mission Impossible movie starring Tom Cruise is a bit of a stretch. It is easy to see why the Swiss corporation has such a great need for security and why it possesses an abundance of resources, or money, to build its own Fort Knox. The production facilities of the Rolex brand are designed to look like something out of a James Bond movie, complete with fingerprint scanners for all of the company's employees, bank vault doors, iris scanners that allow you to be identified through your eyes, and unmarked armored trucks used to transport Rolex parts from one location to another. Alright, folks. That's the end of the video. Please like and subscribe to our channel if you liked the video, and make sure to hit the bell button to be alert whenever we publish new videos. Thanks for watching.